Many are describing the day Daphne Caruana Galizia was assassinated as the tipping day. The events of recent weeks have brought to the fore the concepts of rule of law, democracy and good governance. These three concepts are so interrelated that one is tempted to see them as one and the same. In fact, their relationship is so intricately linked that, sometimes, one wonders where one stops and the other begins. The most ambiguous for many and hard to define is good governance. Good governance starts from a recognition that the nation is led for the benefit of others with an obligation of accountability. Leaders are entrusted with authority to manage and to deliver to their citizens, but they must have the courage, humility and self-control to put in place checks on their authority. In short, governments must, as the World Bank put it, be epitomized by predictable, open and enlightened policy-making, a bureaucracy imbued with a professional ethos, an executive arm of government accountable for its actions, and a strong civil society participating in public affairs and all behaving under the rule of law. Public office, at all levels, confers much more of a responsibility than one imagines. Integrity, honesty and transparency should transcend the public service, its employees and its leaders. However, unfortunately, many cases have surfaced that have questioned this value-based governance of public office. It is here that a country's reputation starts getting dented and thwarted unless serious corrective action is taken. The signs are already showing, with the attractiveness survey published last week raising some concerns on this. A reform is required across levels to ensure that the ethos and professionalism of the institutions is restored. For too long, accountability has been treated with a discretionary yardstick. It is time for this to change and to truly implement open governance systems whereby accountability is not left to perceptions but is actually seen and lived. Public officials need to be held to account by the highest of moral and service delivery standards, resigning when they falter or when exposed. The quid pro quo syndrome needs to stop once and for all if we truly want to continue building this country on good governance. Our sense of democracy and institutional well-being needs to deepen further and grow beyond political rhetoric. Moral fiber, integrity and honesty know no political colors but are a yardstick which all politicians and holders of political office should uphold. The events of these past few weeks have shown that a vibrant civil society exists. However, space must be given for it to further permeate into the governance process. Citizens should feel duty-bound to contribute, and the efforts of civil society to truly uphold the values of good governance are laudable. Our institutional setup is under considerable strain. The international press and political world is watching and scrutinizing us. A healthy civil society also requires a strong opposition. Unfortunately, for myriad reasons, the opposition is no longer that strong a force. The press also needs to continue with its work as the fourth pillar of democracy, using the pen to uncover issues of maladministration, corruption and nepotism. We need civil society to be a prime actor in the policy-making process, with independent think tanks and forums that not only propose but also keep other policy actors to account. It is indeed a challenging time for Malta. Our institutional setup is under considerable strain. Today, more than ever, the international press and political world is watching and scrutinizing us in detail. We cannot falter as our reputation requires strong and bold moves in this trying time. I have had the opportunity to work with 9 different governments in Commonwealth countries on good governance and governance reforms. I have seen the tangible effects of latency and complacency in the face of governance tipping points and institutional stress. But I have also experienced the dividends of good governance reforms that sent a clear signal to the international arena, including foreign investors. The choice is ours. It is time that a serious constitutional reform is started whereby there is a clear separation of powers and whereby mechanisms are in place to ensure that proper checks and balances are in place and well-functioning. Power needs to be decentralized from the executive branch, with more power going to the legislative branch. This will involve key appointments such as the police commissioner requiring a 2/3 parliamentary majority. We need more constitutional bodies whereby independence is paramount. We need a civil service that is professional and accountable and run by technocrats. We need a reform in our law courts with a truly operative constitutional court that has the power to halt unconstitutional acts. All this is possible. It takes resolve and the humility of our political leaders to face the facts and tackle these challenges. Good governance is not a one-time effort, but a continuous struggle. To protect the rights of the governed, to meet their needs and fulfill their aspirations, is by any yardstick an enormous task. It is our duty and responsibility to ensure that this is done and done well. Jean-Paul Fabri is an economist and visiting assistant lecturer at the University of Malta.